Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. It was early fall when Reggie Hart sat at his desk, his mood as dreary as his maroon turtleneck and blue jeans. He pushed his long blonde hair off his shoulders and cleaned his glasses. Outside the window, colorful leaves drifted down to a frost-covered ground. "Reggie Hart," Mrs. Starch called, her white hair pinned up and her painted nails drumming on a wooden ruler as she moved around in her old-fashioned dress. Her monotone voice often lulled the class to sleep, making Reggie's gaze out the window stand out. "Do you know what I'm discussing?" Newton's law of gravity." Reggie guessed quickly. "That was last semester, young man," Mrs. Starch replied, as laughter from those who had been awake spread to others. As Reggie packed his things into his locker and headed home, he was tripped by an outstretched leg. His books scattered, and he looked up at Ross Tompkins. "Nice fall, 4 eyes," Ross taunted, laughing with his football friends and cheerleaders. "Maybe you should get a haircut before one of my teammates mistakes you for a girl and asks you out. Why don't you back off before I give you a knuckle sandwich?" Reggie shot back, his anger barely masking his tears. Ross's face reddened with fury. "You talking back to me?" Ross demanded. "No," Reggie mumbled, gathering his books and walking away as laughter followed him. The wind tugged at his hair as he passed the old mansion, abandoned since its owner died in the Revolutionary War. He never understood why the town didn't turn it into a museum. When Reggie got home, his mother waited at the bottom of the stairs. "Reggie, I'm worried about you," she said gently. "You come home so early every day. Don't you have friends? A girl you'd like to date? All you do is come home, do your homework, watch TV, and go to sleep. What friends?" Reggie replied flatly, "I just want to be left alone." The next day at lunch, Natty greeted him. "Hi Reggie. How's it going, you hermit?" "Fine," Reggie responded coldly. "Some girls invited me on a camping trip this weekend," Natty said. "It's just for us girls, but would you like to come along?" "I don't know, Natty," Reggie said, sipping his milk and fiddling with his emerald necklace. "I have studying to do for Mrs. Starch's class. I need to get back on her good side." "Like she even has one," Natty muttered as a cheerleader approached. "Why are you wasting time with that basket case?" Chloe asked, dragging Natty back to the popular table. "If you want to hang out with us, you need to choose your friends more carefully." On his way home, Reggie was stunned to see someone moving into the manor. Normally, he would have walked right by, but today he found the movers almost pushing him toward the front door. Inside, he stared at the candlelit entry hall and a portrait of an 18th-century nobleman hanging above. "May I assist you, young lady?" a voice called to the feminine-looking student. Reggie turned around to see someone who looked exactly like the person in the painting, including the same outfit. You look like," Reggie stammered before fainting from the shock of seeing someone who seemed to be over 200 years old. When he came to, he found himself on a sofa in the den, with the young man seated beside him. "Are you all right?" the man asked. "Yes," Reggie replied, reaching for his glasses on the end table. "You look just like Gallery Fence, the original owner of this house." "That's because I am Gallery Fence," the man said, his pupils glowing red and fangs sliding into view. "A vampire bit me, and the townspeople drove me away. Luckily, most people today don't believe in the supernatural. Don't worry, like my friend Ben Franklin, I'm into science. I found a way to sustain myself artificially." "Wow," Reggie said, peering over his glasses. "A real vampire." "Since you know my secret, feel free to visit anytime," Gallery said, guiding Reggie to the door. The next day, Reggie passed the manor when the gates creaked open by themselves. Seeing it as an invitation, he entered, only to have the gates slam shut behind him. Inside, he saw Gallery being thrown across the room into a wall. "What's happening?" he asked. "Gallery!" Reggie cried as a bat-like figure flew across the room and knocked him to the floor. You shouldn't have returned to this town, Fence, the other vampire snarled. Making friends instead of corpses. What kind of vampire are you? Get off him. Gallery yelled, shoving the vampire emperor out of a window and pulling Reggie into another room. Normally, I don't drink blood, but the only way to keep him from killing you is to turn you into a vampire. Me, a vampire? Reggie said, nervous. I don't know. As long as you only use the serum and not real blood, you can go out in the sun and live an almost normal life, Gallery said as the vampire emperor's fist smashed through the door behind them. No time to decide. As Gallery's fangs pierced Reggie's neck, he felt a wave of dizziness. He went limp, his body transforming into a feminine figure with C-cup chests, and his male organ retracting. The vampire blood made it appear as though he wore lipstick. Feeling a surge of strength, Reggie, now Veronica, grabbed the vampire emperor as he crashed through the door. With newfound power, she threw the vampire out of the house and drove him away before collapsing. When Veronica awoke in a canopied bed, she sat up, feeling the weight of her new chests. She brushed her hair aside, put on her glasses, and saw her transformed body. What have you done to me? I noticed how plain you looked when I first saw you, and I thought you'd love a dream body, Mr. Fence said apologetically. I wasn't a girl, Veronica exclaimed. Sure, I looked like one, but I wasn't. Oh dear, Mr. Fence said with a smile. I didn't know, and I can't change you back. It's all right, Veronica, Mrs. Hart said gently. I was confused myself when Mr. Fence called and asked me to come over. Maybe being a daughter could help you become popular. I have an idea, Mr. Fence said. Veronica, you and your mother can move in with me. I can protect you from the vampire emperor, and you can pretend Veronica is related to me. We can say Reggie went away to boarding school or something. Veronica wasn't thrilled about the idea, but she saw no alternative. With Halloween approaching, the party would be a perfect opportunity to make a splash and gain popularity. She didn't need to buy fake fangs. Instead, she found a blood-red vampire outfit at a store that reminded her of Mrs. Addams from * the Addams Family star. I'm glad you agreed to help decorate the mansion for the party, Veronica said to Natty, who she'd gotten to know well during the all-girls camping trip the previous weekend. Veronica was curious about Flash's absence since his transformation, though she wasn't keen on him hitting on her new self. One day, she found a note in her locker that read, "You're dead in dried blood." Who could be playing a prank on me? Veronica wondered, her anxiety growing as she went through lunch and classes, constantly looking over her shoulder and jumping at every sound. She only smiled and nodded when others talked about the party. After gym class, Natty and Veronica entered the girls' locker room, where Natty noticed that Veronica's reflection was missing from the mirror. As Natty fainted into Veronica's arms, Veronica focused hard to reappear in the mirror. It was a matter of willpower to become visible again. What happened? Chloe asked as Natty rested her head on Veronica's lap, making Veronica wish she were still Reggie. I don't know, Veronica said, watching as Natty came to and opened her eyes. Are you okay? I don't know, Natty replied, dazed. Veronica felt a bit relieved, as the notion of a person having no reflection seemed so bizarre that Natty's mind might have blocked it out. While Natty and Chloe helped Mrs. Hart and Mr. Fence finish decorating for the party, Veronica went to the basement to take her formula to prevent any vampiric outbursts. She returned upstairs just in time to hear the girls laughing as Veronica's mom accidentally popped a balloon with too much air. By the time the guests arrived, Mr. Fence was dressed as the Green Hornet and Mrs. Hart as a female Cato. The party was everything Veronica had ever wanted when she was Reggie, until there was a knock at the door. Veronica knew everyone was already there. Mr. Fence and Veronica answered the door together, only to find an army of zombies on the doorstep, along with the Emperor vampire and a female vampire. What do we do now? Veronica asked. Attack, the Emperor commanded as the zombies surged forward, and Mr. Fence charged into the fray. Veronica used her enhanced vampire senses and super strength to fight off the zombies, smashing them apart with ease. Get out of my way, Veronica shouted, breaking free from the zombies and landing at the feet of the female vampire. Still defying me, the vampire hissed. Flash! Veronica exclaimed in shock. Not anymore, thanks to you, Flo replied, her face flushed with anger. The Emperor Vampire thought that after you defeated him, he needed a vampire you'd fear to deal with you. Unfortunately for me, he prefers female minions. Now that I'm as strong as you, I'm not afraid anymore, Veronica declared, floating into the air and hurling the former school bully back into the zombie horde while Mr. Fence finished off the remaining zombies. With the zombies defeated, the vampires retreated, and the school kids cheered for the Halloween party's thrilling conclusion. Veronica turned to Mr. Fence, feeling hopeful about her new life as a teenage vampire.